Carrie with Rockin G Farm. We are continuing with our Christmas cookie countdown today for 2020. Today we're going to do peanut butter cookies. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to preheat our oven so it can be warming up while we're ready. We're going to warm it up to 375. I am going to peek inside, make sure I don't have anything in there. Sometimes I leave cookie sheets in there. Okay, so the things that we're going to use today is margarine, but not margarine. I don't use margarine, I use butter. And I have it out, and so it's already softening and warming up to room temperature. Remember that in order to make good cookies and good baked goods, all of your products need to be room temperature. So if you're going to be using eggs or butter or anything like that, you need to set them out prior to starting cooking so that you can have those up to room temperature. So I have my butter out and I had my egg out, and I've already washed it, made sure it was good and clean because it is fresh from the farm. We are going to use salt, baking soda, vanilla, of course, crunchy peanut butter. My husband doesn't like crunchy, but it's for the cookies, so we're gonna use crunchy peanut butter, flour, and brown sugar, and white granulated sugar. I've got my cookie sheets, and we're going to cover the cookie sheets with parchment paper, just because it makes it a lot easier to clean the sheets and to line them up on your cookie sheet to make sure that you have plenty of space. So right now we're going to get all of our ingredients and get them into the mixer. Okay, we are going to add our butter, which is going to be a half a cup of butter, and it's already softened. So we're going to add that into our mixing bowl. We are going to add a half a cup of peanut butter. And I like to use spatulas to get my peanut butter out. It just makes it a lot easier, and it's a lot cleaner, and it doesn't get hung in spoons. This, scrape it in the half cup. You know what? I really do like peanut butter, really peanut buttery tasting peanut butter cookies. So I'm gonna actually add more peanut butter than what this calls for. It calls for half a cup, so I think I'm gonna do 3/4 of a cup. So there's a half, a little bit more than a half, but like I said, I like my peanut butter cookies. You know what? I'm just gonna do 1 cup because I made peanut butter cookies a couple months back, and I went exactly by the recipe, and it said like a half a cup of peanut butter, but the cookies did not taste real good and peanut buttery. They tasted like flour, and I didn't like it. You know, if I'm gonna spend calories on something, on a cookie, it better taste good. And so I'm adding more peanut butter. So actually that's close to 1 cup of peanut butter. And then we are going to add a half a cup of brown sugar. Now, what you need to remember on brown sugar is that you have to pack it in to your measuring cup. So you just pour it in. And some people would just leave it like this. That's not how you measure brown sugar. Brown sugar, you put lots of sugar on your cup, and you get your fingers and you press that brown sugar in. So it won't go any further. That is the proper way to measure brown sugar. Well, just be that way for me. Okay, so we have half a cup of brown sugar. going to do a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Just a minute, let me wash my hands. I got peanut butter and sugar all over them. Okay, now we're gonna do a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Half cup. Okay, and 1 egg. And remember, since my egg is fresh from the farm, just out of the chicken coop, I'm going to crack it into a different bowl and inspect my egg. Make sure there's nothing going on with it. Sometimes when you have new chickens laying eggs, sometimes they don't do well laying, and you'll see imperfections in the actual egg. There might be some blood or in there, and you can just throw the egg away. But that's what you need to do when you're using farm fresh eggs, just to make sure that there's nothing going on. And then if I would have cracked it in here and there was something going on with the egg, I would have ruined all my ingredients. And I've done that before, so I've learned my lesson. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, this says add vanilla. We're doing a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, but like I told you before, I never measure my vanilla. My grandmother taught my mom how to do this, and my mom taught me. You just put it in the cap of your vanilla measuring or vanilla bottle, and you just pour it in. And so now what I'm going to do, right on there. I need to get that off because almost all of my vanilla went on there. We're going to bring it over to the mixer and start mixing. Okay, so we've got our bowl on our mixer. I'm just going to add my paddle. And I'm going to mix this all together. And then we're going to add flour later. Oven's ready for the cookies. Oh, that just smells divine. I can smell peanut butter. Perfect. Doing awesome. Okay, let me show you what this looks like. This is all of the mixture except for the flour, soda, and salt. So, I don't know if you can see that, but how creamy that looks. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to get your flour ready for your cookies. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start getting our flour. We need 1 1/4 cups of flour. And so just want to remind you, when you are cooking or baking with flour, your flour settles over time and it becomes compact and heavy. So we have to add air into the flour so that it will be light and fluffy. And so whatever you're baking will become light and fluffy and not hard and heavy. So even though sometimes like on here it says pre-sifted, well, that's great and wonderful, but you pre-sifted it before it was shipped to me, and I stored it for a month in my cabinet. Yeah, that was pre-sifted, but it's all hard and compact now. It's all compact, you know, just like when you drop something and it starts compacting down, that's what your flour does. So you have to fix that. So what I've got, I show everybody every time, this is called a sifter. So you can see inside, and then what I do is you move your handle, and when you move your handle, it moves the spigots, and it aerates the flour so that you get a lot of air in your flour so that your cookies are not going to be heavy. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add some into my sifter. And I am just going to start sifting. And you can see how light and fluffy that looks. Just looks like snow and real light and fluffy. And that's exactly what we need to make our cookies light and fluffy. We don't want hard, heavy cookies. So we're just going to continue to do that. Back here so you can see me. And that's probably right at 1 1/4 cups. Now I'm going to show you this, and you can see how fluffy that is. And that's what we want to make our cookies fluffy. Now, like I said last time in my video, this is a liquid measuring cup. It is not for solids. So I'm going to see, because right now it says it's at 2 cups. So what I'm going to have to do is transfer this over to my cup, my solid measuring cup. But you can measure liquids in this, but you can't measure solids in this. Liquids and solids can go in a cup like this, but this is just for liquids. So I'm going to softly spoon my flour into my cup, trying not to pack it down and lose my aeration, because that would have been just a waste of time. Okay, at the end, this is not 1 cup. This is more than a cup. So what I'm gonna do, you can get a knife or something. Since I've already have the spoon, I'm just flipping the spoon around, and I'm just going to go back and forth and rake off the excess flour. And also, if there's like any holes or gaps in the edges, that is going to pull the flour into the edges so you have a perfect 1 cup measure. Okay, so now I'm going to put that in my bowl, and now I have 1/4 cup to add. Same thing with my spoon. This spoon's kind of hard because it has embellishments on it, so it kind of makes little grooves in there. But that's 1/4 cup, perfectly measured. All right, and now we're going to add 3/4 teaspoon of soda. I keep my soda in a mason jar because we live in a climate that is very, very humid, and it gets clumpy if I just leave it in the original box. So this keeps the air out, the humidity out of it. So let me find a 3/4 teaspoon. Let me see. Half, 1/4. Okay, so this is 1/4 teaspoon, and I need 3, so I'm just going to fill this up 3 times. Now that one is perfect. Hallelujah. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So our salt's here, and like I've said before, Don't ever measure your salt or anything over your ingredients. You want to always use a separate bowl or something to measure over in case it accidentally overfills, and then you're going to be screwed if you measured it over your ingredients, because then you're going to have to throw them away like you would if you put a rotten egg in it. So I'm going to add that salt in there. So we've got the flour, soda, and salt. I'm going to get my whisk, and I'm going to mix these together to make sure that they all incorporate very well. You always want to make sure that everything incorporates well, because your soda and your salt is what's going to help your cookies rise. And if it's not mixed in there accurately, then some cookies might kind of be rising and some might not be rising, and it just might be a whole bunch of nastiness. So I'm sure that that's pretty much incorporated very well. So now we're going to come over and we're just going to add that to our peanut butter mixture in our mixing bowl. Here, sorry, you're crooked. Ah! Okay, so just going to add this little by little. And mix it up. Oh, it just smells so good over here. I lowered that because it helps get some of the excess dough off of the paddle. Okay, let's come over here. I'm gonna have to move all this stuff around. I made a mess, and it's gonna be hard for me to scoop my cookies, so give me a second. I'm gonna clean this mess up. Okay guys, I was just gonna remind you that when you are done with your sifter, you don't want to put it in water, because there might be a little bit more flour left in there that you don't see, and if that flour gets wet, it will harden as hard as a rock, and it will completely ruin your sifter. So just kind of tap, tap, tap. You didn't do anything with it. If there's extra powder flour on the sides, just wipe it off with a rag, and that's the way you clean them. You don't ever want to put them in water. Now, if I got nasty, I would, but then you're just going to have to be very diligent about coming back like every 5 minutes and rinsing and rinsing and rinsing to make sure that there's no flour in there that is turning hard. Okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just use my spatula and get everything off of my paddle, and then I'm going to run this, just kind of do a real quick mixing of the ingredients in the mixing bowl with my spatula to make sure that everything got incorporated, because sometimes on these KitchenAid mixers, I love them to death, but they don't get all the way to the bottom, and then so you have to kind of make sure that you stir it all in to make sure that everything gets incorporated, because sometimes you might have a clump of flour or sugar or something at the bottom, but it looks like we got it really good this time. So, you know, I was talking about, use my fingers, sorry, but this is just for my family. I was talking about the recipe and how I tweaked it a little bit. I know that this was gonna be okay because peanut butter cooks. It will cook real crispy. So I know that this is gonna be okay. And I have another recipe where you just use 1 cup of peanut butter, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 cup of flour. And you mix that together and and 1 egg. That is divine, but it doesn't make a lot. So you have to like double and triple it to make a lot. So I wanted to try this one just to see if it made more cookies. It doesn't say on the recipe how many cookies it makes, so I don't know. We'll just have to learn this together. So I'm just gonna kind of use my handy dandy scoop. If you can make cookies a lot, you've got to invest in a scoop, because you're not going to use your hands and everything is going to be almost exactly the same size. So I'm just going to scoop, put it down on my parchment paper, and then we're going to smash it down with a fork, and then we will be done. See, look how almost uniform. Look at that. Perfect those are. They're all almost exactly the same size. That is perfect, and you don't have to get your hands on anything. But that's okay, because sometimes the butter and everything in there makes your hands soft. And for the magic, you use this special utensil. It's called a fork. You just go and you smash down your peanut butter. Oh! Smash it down. And sometimes you have to come up and it's kind of hard to get them out. There you go. See what I'm doing? Just smashing down with this special utensil. You know, I don't know whoever came up with this special utensil we use for these peanut butter cookies. They were just a genius. Oh. And they're all just almost perfectly uniform in size. They're kind of tiny because I have this tiny scoop. So I'm supposed to put them in for about 10 minutes. I might just put them in for about 8. Ready for the oven, and hopefully this time it won't do like the snickerdoodles did and roll off into the bottom of the stove. Yeah, that wasn't good. I had to hurry so that it wouldn't catch on fire. Here we go. Got them in for 8 minutes. We'll see about 8 minutes how they do. Okay guys, we've got our cookies ready for Santa. Our peanut butter cookies. So we're just gonna sit them right out here by the fireplace for Santa. Thanks for joining me today in our Christmas cookie countdown 2020 at Rockin G Farm. Make what you have beautiful.